Hi, this is Elemi from the Orisha Meetup group in New York or in the New York, New Jersey area. And we also have Meetup members from the Orisha Meetup group in New Jersey. And today we're going to talk a little bit about dream interpretation. A lot of you have put out requests for a meetup on dream interpretation, and I've also put out that people needed to send topics, and so we're just going to talk a little bit about topics or themes that come up in meetups and dreams, and then we're going to talk a little bit about what are some of the possible meanings. There are thousands of meanings to possibly one theme, so I'm only going to cover some that come up a lot, in addition to answering some questions from people that are here. I am Elemi, High Priestess in Lukumi, Yoruba practice, which is Santeria in the New World of Oshun, in Palo Mayombe, in Vodou, and in the Bikinde Medicine Society, which is from the Congo. So some of the themes that we may talk about today may be contextual to different practices, but we will try to stay within just general themes, because there may be people who are watching who are not particularly involved in any African spirituality practices, and so some of those themes may not necessarily be the same symbology for them. So people get dreams for a lot of different reasons, and there are three main types of dreams. There are dreams that are subjective, dreams that are physical, and dreams that are spiritual. In other words, how it is that these dreams come forward. So it could be, in being subjective, it could be something that is going on, and so it's subject specific. So there are times that people are really stressed, or they're having a challenge. Like this morning, I dreamt that this was going to be late, and it's being late. So that's a subjective dream. It could be physical, someone feeling something physically happening to them. Sometimes people are flying, they're running. Sometimes people have told me that they felt themselves peeing in their dream, and they've actually wet their bed. They feel like very anxious, and they wake up, their heart is racing, things like that. People have dreamt that something's holding them down. People have dreamt that they're having intercourse. All of these different things, those are physical dreams. That is your subconscious connecting with your conscious mind and impacting your physical body. Then there's spiritual dreams. Dreams where we are either find ourselves in a spiritual mode. We could be talking about past life. Sometimes people travel back to their past life or previous lifetimes in dreams. Sometimes we receive visits in dreams, whether it be from different spirits, demigods. We have ethereal dreams. We have dreams that are negative, which we call nightmares, or things that we feel that we're out of control. We feel that our safety is in jeopardy, and so on and so forth. Spiritual dreams are vast. They're vast based on your spiritual practice or religious practice. They're vast based on your makeup. As an example, if a person is into listening to certain types of music or watching certain types of movies, whatever their interest is, many times their dreams will be in somewhat of alignment with what their interests are. Why? Because in spiritual dreams, spirit, whether it be ancestor spirits, spirit guides, deities, they will come to us and dream with us in the context of what we know. So as an example, if someone's not going to have a dream of doing brain surgery and they know nothing about medicine. If the person's a musician, they may have a dream about playing a certain type of rhythm, or playing on a certain type of instrument. Or they may see someone that they really, really admire in a dream. all of these things, Spirit is only going to come to them and use the context of their natural database in order to give them information in dreams. It's not effective if the person cannot try to extrapolate any of the information that they're given in a dream. So if a person is a cook, if a person had old relatives, if a person's a mechanic, if they like to watch comedies, if they're very politically motivated, sometimes people dream about political figures, and it really has nothing to do with that particular political figure, maybe 80% of the time. However, it's what the person represents. So for an example, people in the diaspora, if they dreamt about the ocean, but they are dreaming about the light color of the ocean and not the dark color of the ocean, it could allude to the Orisha Yemaya. But that isn't always the case. There are other things to look for in dreams. So when I do dream interpretation for people, I always ask many questions. And one of the questions that people oftentimes fail to mention is, what's the texture of the water? What's the weather? Is it bright? Is it dark? Is it night? Is it day? All of these different things play a role in what the message is of the dream. So spiritual dreams are vast in terms of the types of interpretation that you could have and the symbology of what the metaphors mean. One of the unique things about dreams is that it doesn't make a difference whether or not you're male or female. Every person in the world, no matter their spiritual or religious context, their ethnicity, or their gender, everyone dreams. Some people are more prolific dreamers. They dream for things that are happening in present. Some people dream more about things that are happening in the future. Sometimes people dream a little bit of both. But most people, they dream about time that is more relative to their spiritual makeup. So people who dream about the future, they'll either dream very far into the future, but in the dream they're cues to look for to get to that far future event. Then other people are more present-based, where they're going to dream about things that are happening in the near future and presently. The other thing about dreams is there's some people that dream in black and white, and they don't dream in color. And there are other people who dream in color and don't dream in black and white. It's not the norm that people dream both in color and in black and white. So those are nice kind of tidbits that we may talk about a little bit today from people who may have questions after I go through this part. So in the past, in history, dreams have played a huge role in the making and changing of world history. And it's one of the few things in the world that science kind of leaves alone, so to speak, because it's one of those few unexplainable, mysterious things of the human subconscious. So as an example, many wars have been started as a result of dreams. Many wars have been started as a result of dream divination. So there are people in the world that believe that decisions can be made through messages that are received in dreams. Napoleon, Hitler, those are some of the people who have been documented in the past for making world decisions that have impacted all our lives through dreams and through dealing with people who were spiritualists, that their forte was dream analysis, or they went into dreams and they would give information to some of these high-ranking people in the world, and they would go to them specifically to know about some of the things to do in life as a result of their skill in dream interpretation. Before I go on, does anyone have any questions? Oh boy. So some of the things that dreams can reflect, separate and apart from just giving us messages, is that dreams are oftentimes used to, I use the term clean out the conscious mind. Sometimes people are really stressed, or they're overthinking, or they're overanalyzing, or just really wound up, if you will. And dreams are used to kind of clean that out so that they can have a freshness the next day. They're not going to sleep with the same thoughts and waking up with the same thoughts. The brain and the mind and the spirit has to find a way to kind of dump, if you will, useless or not helpful information for people. And so many times people will say, well, I have lots of dreams, I just don't remember any of them. Those are oftentimes thought of as dreams that are part of the cleaning process. The person sees things in snippets, pieces of all types of random, non-specific, not connected information, and oftentimes none of that is important. Why? Because not every single thing can be important, which is why people will have dreams, and they're prophetic dreams. They wake up, oh, I know this is going to happen. This is going to happen. I know this is going to happen. I saw it. It was a message. Well, if every single day people were getting messages, they would be pretty crazy. So this is one of the mechanisms of the mind to be able to pull information from the conscious and to move it out. So I'm going to also talk a little bit about the themes that come up in dreams that are oftentimes warnings or telling us to do something. So as I mentioned earlier, some of the uses of dreams is to, one, give insight. I mean, you guys may all come up with some other themes, but some of the largest themes that dreams are used for is, one, to make decisions or to give insight, two, for gambling purposes or for something to generate opportunity, whether it be people who dream about numbers. Not everyone dreams about numbers. Why? Because that's based on their spirit guides. A lot of times people think that, oh, I'm gonna dream it, and then people meet other people who say, oh, I got this number in a dream, or this, I saw this place in a dream, or those are all based on spirit guides that are with people. And some people may dream of numbers, but just because they're dreaming of numbers doesn't mean that they also have the gift of playing numbers. So I'm not going to go too much down that road because that's another meetup. However, sometimes people question, why don't I do this? Why don't I know this? Sometimes there's nothing you can do about that. It's just what people have. It doesn't mean that they cannot try to heighten that vibration, but those are things that people oftentimes are born with. People also use dreams to explore other people's lives. So there are some people who have spirit guides that can allow them to astro travel in order to invade other people's dreams or invade them in their subconscious or in their subconscious world, because it's not really in their mind per se, because they're actually going into someone else's dream, or they are thinking about the person in a way that when that other person goes to sleep, they're able to contact them. Again, those people fall in the few and far between category, but they are people who have this skill, and again, that's all based on natural born ability in addition to spirit guides. Dreams are also used to travel. Most people travel in some way through dreams. They either travel through time and or place. So going to somewhere else is still time, but they can travel back into time, if you will, into other lifetimes. But they can also travel to another country, if you will, or go somewhere. And there are people who are able to do that from planning that from a conscious perspective and doing it in dream. Is everyone here understanding what I just said? Okay, I just want to make sure. So again, there are thousands of reasons or ways that people can use dreams. So are there any ways that you guys think people could use dreams other than some of the short lists that I just gave?
They could use dreams to kind of overcome past blockages, maybe.
That's right. Mm-hmm. So that those are like intention dreams. Person puts out intentions before they go to sleep. They focus on something. There are other tools and mechanisms that you can use in preparing for intention dreams. But nonetheless, that would be an intention dream. My intention is to accomplish X, Y, and Z. And so it could be for a week, it could be for a year, it could be for some period of time for them to have that breakthrough. That's a great, great suggestion. And definitely a great use of dreams. Anyone else? Okay. So again, we talked a little bit about that dreams can be contextual. So as an example, the symbology of a cat is not the same if you're a Muslim practitioner as if you were maybe a person who was just doing spiritualism. Or the symbology of a dog may be different for someone who is practicing African spirituality versus someone who is not. And so, which is why when I first said, okay, I agreed to do this meetup, I asked everyone to send different topics because we could be here for years going through dream symbology. So as an example, which ties back to the beginning when I said that dreams are contextual to some degree. So as an example, someone's flying in a dream. Well, flying can mean a lot of different things. And many people have flown in dreams. And so flying alludes to some ethereal or spiritual process, oftentimes for people. But it also can represent lightness, freedom, being able to express themselves. How much time do I have? No. How long have I been? Okay, so we're going to go for about 10 more minutes and then we'll take some more questions. So that is one thing that I think many people have had, flying dreams. And almost always, it is rare, and I'm not in every human being, but from my analysis of dreams and listening to dreams over the years, it is rare that people are flying with someone else. Did you fly with someone else when you were flying? Do you recall?
Yeah, she was my best friend.
Was he flying?
No, she was. No, actually, no.
How about anyone else?
I had a dream where I was like, it was almost like I was in like a seat. It was flying like a chairlift skiing, but it was flying, and I was with my family.
Were they also doing it?
Yeah, like they were next to me on the chairlift type seat that was flying through the air.
But it's not oftentimes you're holding someone else's hand flying. But that's good. So that was good because you were with your family. But also they used your context of skiing because that's something that you like to do, right? Versus doing something that you've never done before. Okay, that's a good one. So flying oftentimes represents, as I said before, freedom, and also has to do with spirituality very, very often for people. Is there another theme that someone may want to put out while we're on themes? Not the story, just themes. No one?
Teeth.
I'm like everyone's dream.
Teeth. Teeth and falling. Yeah.
Okay, let's do the teeth first. So, what would teeth? What kind of teeth? Because there are many ways that teeth are represented in dreams.
Teeth falling out, teeth shattering.
Teeth falling out alludes to health issues. Oftentimes, and I'm sure that many people have looked up these different types of dreams. They may give you a few topics. So many of these themes that we're discussing today can be reviewed online. There are many dictionaries online. There are lots of places online, and there are places online based on your spiritual context for many different spiritualities in terms of themes. But dreams represent teeth represent loss. It represents health issues, and it represents I would have to say loss is maybe one of the biggest ones because it's a losing. It's a losing in addition to it's a prevention of being able to eat. So again, it goes back to loss. Does that make sense? What was the one that you said? Falling. So in the past, have you thought about what falling could have meant for you?
I haven't dreamed about falling in like a long time, but I would assume falling would have to do with instability. I would also look at to see if it was a daydream, like if it was a day outside or if it was night outside. Would also change the context of what the falling meant.
What does the daytime falling mean?
So to me, when it's day outside, it means the conscious or the reality of the situation, whereas when it's dark, the subconscious. Mm-hmm. So let's say if it was nighttime and I was falling, it would be more of a warning to me that something that more spiritual or something that was less in my control was approaching. Whereas if it was daytime, it would be more of my conscious. And this is something that may also pertain to loss, but it would be something more tangibly able to change or rectify.
Okay. So those are again, dreams have thousands of interpretations, and those definitely sound like some good ones. Dreams of falling also represents the beginning of something that we do not want to start over. In other words, something ending. So if a person's having an issue with a job and they're dreaming of falling, oftentimes the job is ending. Or there's going to be a major change that they do not have control over in the dream. Do you understand? So falling oftentimes is like the death card in tarot, as an example. Okay. Water is a theme that almost everyone has seen at some point. They may not remember the dream, but they've seen it at least once. Whether it be in the ocean, in the river, they're walking in it, it's raining, they're drinking it. Somehow, every single human being must have elemental dreams. That is another theme in dreams that every single human being must have. Why? Because the human is made up of the 4 elements. And so they must have elemental dreams because dreams are a core part of the human makeup, just like the elements. So in water dreams, people have to look for, is the water clean or is it dirty? Is it moving or is it not? Is it light? Is it dark? And so on and so forth. Water dreams, we could be here for the next 2 hours just talking about water dreams. And so one of the biggest things I like to tell people when they're talking about water dreams, and if they're in the diaspora, if they're African spiritualists practicing traditional African spirituality, water dreams are very, 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 very important. They're very important for a lot of different reasons. Why? Because it can be the deity that's coming to the person. It can be the deity telling them a message. As an example, someone can be at the ocean in a dream, and they're seeing the ocean, but they're not getting in the water. They could be at the ocean, and the sand is rocky, and it's just not, the terrain to get to the water can be treacherous. It could be that they go to the beach, and it's a beautiful sunny day outside. All of these different, again, we could be here for a long time going through each one, but all of these different nuances in dreams are extremely important. So I'm just going to use the one with the rocky terrain and the ocean. Well, the rocky terrain to the ocean, the deity's already telling the person, you've got rough road ahead in order to get to the bounty, in order to get to the other side. Oftentimes, dreams of the ocean, and I'm going to use the ocean more so than the river. I'm going to use the ocean as an example more so than even running water, because the ocean can also represent travel. It can represent movement. As an example, a person relocating, taking a trip, and along those kinds of themes of movement. It could be that they want to change jobs. I'm going to use that as an example because that's a very important thing that happens for people. So they could find themselves walking on a road passing buildings, and then they get to dirt or brown sand, dirty looking sand, and then the ocean. So the person in the dream needs to be looking around. One of the techniques that people need to continue to try to do, and many of us, until we learn how to do this, we don't do it. So the dream's happening, it's going by us, and we're, oh, wow, there's a lot of stuff going on. In the dream, the person needs to try to slow their consciousness down. Because when you slow your consciousness down, the dream, you start to actually be in the dream, not watching the dream. Do you understand the difference? Got you? So when you're able to slow down your consciousness and be in the dream, then you can take in the small cues that are being given to you. So the buildings represents industry growth, business, movement, prosperity, da-da-da. If the buildings are not broken down, if they don't look abandoned, and so on and so forth, right? So then if the person's looking to change jobs, now they're walking on the road. There may not be any cars on the road, or they may just be able to freely walk in the middle of the road. Well, that represents open roads. In the diaspora, that's a legba. Industry, business, all of these different things oftentimes represents the deity opening the way for something. But then the person gets to, let's say, the end of the street, which is like a dead end. Well, at the dead end, there is a gate. The gate is open. They walk through the gate. The sand is brown. So it's a little bit of sand that's light, and it's a little bit of dirt. The texture is different. New beginnings, new terrain, a new way of thinking about things, a new reality, a new way to look at things. Right? Now, they start walking. The ground is rocky. The ground is not flat. There's a lot of rocks. It's not the kind of beach that you can go and lay down and put your feet up and relax and put your towel out. The sky is not rainy. It's not sunny. It's overcast. But the ocean, I'm taking you all through this whole exercise of a dream, so you can now take these exercises and go back and see if these can be valuable for you. So now they get to the beach. This is not a beach that you can swim in. It's not a beach you can lay out in. It's not sunny, so you cannot tan. But the water has a lot of fish jumping out of the water. So what is the deity telling the person, or what is also the dream bringing forth? This is fertile ground. You need to deal with the challenges and get through whatever those challenges are because there's fruit and there's bounty and there's prosperity at the end, but you have to work for it. You can't relax. You can't procrastinate. This is not that time in life. Got it? But if the person does everything they need to do, they have nets and nets and nets and nets of fish at the end of it. So this is just a small example. I'm going to run down a couple topics that sometimes can come up also in dreams. Everyone is free to contact me at Botanica, BOTANICA, at Yeyeo, YEYEO.com if you have dreams that you want to get interpreted or if you want to continue this discussion. Again, you can look us up at the Orisha. Let me say this topic correctly. Say it for me. I changed the name.
Orisha, Lukumi, Santeria.
Orisha, Lukumi, Santeria, Ifa, Spirit Meetup Group of New York. And we'll have that posted at the bottom of this screen. We have the one for New York, and we have to reach out and to talk about these subjects. So we're located at 141 Halsey Street in Newark, New Jersey. Our website address is www.yeyeo.com. So sometimes people say they have seen angels in dreams. So I'm just going to give you about 6 topics before we close. I gave you in the previous examples, you've received many different examples, but here are a couple more. Angels in dreams represents guidance, represents wisdom, represents immaturity sometimes, freeing up of responsibility. Sometimes people see birds in dreams. That represents spiritual knowledge. For people who are into yoga, it can also represent the heart chakra. It can also represent telepathy. Bridges are great symbology in dreams because they're also similar to the road of crossing over into a new way, into a new path, and linking between 2 situations. Cats represent sexuality. As I talked about cats earlier, they can also represent enemies. Different types of animals can represent different types of enemies in dreams. Weapons in dreams are usually not positive if they're being used against you or if you cannot find one. Clothing is also another thing to look at in dreams. Is the clothing new, clean, ripped, the color of the clothing. In addition to the weather, always look out at the weather, the time of day, and different occurrences that are happening in the context of the dream. Sometimes people are having dreams and they're just thinking, they're just in the dream looking at all those pictures, but then if they went back and broke the dream down, they would see that there were a lot of other things. Everyone should have a dream journal beside their bed if you are a prolific dreamer. If you have a dream and you wake up and you say, oh, I'll write it down when I wake up, it's gone. At least 60% of the information from the dream is gone if the person goes back to sleep. So they must pull themselves out, even if they only put down few words, to be able to go back and jog their memory. Thank you so much. Does anyone else have any questions before we close?
So if you wanted to amplify your ability to remember or to be more in tune with your dreams, is there a way of doing that?
People can put different things by their bed in order to amplify and or to hold information in their dreams and or make their dreams more prolific by making satchels with different types of herbs. Sometimes crystals work for some people, or a combination of the two. Some people need different types of waters mixed together underneath their bed. So if people are having spiritual problems, some of these examples do not work. Because if they're having spiritual problems, they're already having natural interference in their dreams. One of the precautions I like to give people when you're talking about amplifying dreams, some people like to do opiates or take different types of herbs to relax themselves or to like a mild sedative. Those can be dangerous if the person has not worked on using the spirit guides that allow them to travel, because then they can come back with all different types of spirits with them that can be very problematic in the long run. But from a positive perspective, I say people can make all different kinds of satchels. There's tons, thousands of different herbs that help with dream amplification. There are different types of spiritual baths that people can take before they go to bed. There are different types of head treatments, anointing oils, different types of things like that that can be used also to open up the crown chakra, to open up the mind in order to be able to receive information. Any other questions before we close? Yes.
About the bridge. What does it mean when you see a long road with a bridge and a hill, but the plane goes down that road across the bridge, it only takes off like this?
The plane is, okay, say it louder again.
Okay, it was a long road.
A long road.
The color of the bridge was actually sky blue.
A blue bridge.
And there was a hill at the end.
A hill at the end.
But the plane was, going smoothly, but it only took off when they hit the hill. Not like before, but when they hit the hill.
That's a good dream. Well, if a person is practicing African spirituality, so I'm going to use one of those examples. So the road represents a legba. That's pretty standard, if you will. The plane can represent the warriors. It can represent Ogun. It can represent Ochosi. It can also represent a legba because it's the plane on the road. It's a metal plane, which represents planes, and flight represents freedom, movement, spiritual elevation, and so on. So then you say there's a blue bridge. Well, the bridge could have been a lot of different colors, right? So blue can be representative of any of the deities or spirits that fall under, I'm going to say, Yemaya or ocean deities. So does Ochosi. Ochosi's color is blue. That goes back to the warrior conversation. Then the plane doesn't take off until it gets to the mountain. Well, the mountain is Obatala. And the taking off, going into flight, that's like a message. The person needs to go to Obatala in order to elevate, so to speak. So it's actually a very interesting dream because it talks about warriors and it talks about the bridge of going over from one world into the next. But then it talks about the mother love, nurturing, so on and so forth. If you, all of the Orishas that fall under blue kind of fall under the deity Yemaya. And then that the plane doesn't take off until it goes by the mountain. Well, in order to elevate, in order to transform, in order to move upward in life, we've got to fly somehow, right? And so that's a good one. That's a very good one. Okay, so we have one more?
Yeah.
And this is going to be our last one.
Do you know anything about connection between dreams and deja vu?
Dreams and deja vu. Well, my analogy is, I call it a glitch in the matrix. But many people believe that deja vu represents some connection to a past life. Something that's happened in the person's past life that gets triggered by something in the present time. So that's like deja vu. Sometimes dreams, a person has a dream, and then in the future, which is what I think you're saying, they go, I dreamt about this. Is that what you mean by that? Or can you be more specific?
Yeah, I mean, that's one possibility. Mm-hmm. Like you might have deja vu and you might feel like you dreamt about it, but you're not sure if it was something you dreamed about.
Oftentimes, well, that's true. There are times that we don't know where the deja vus come from. I would have to say, from my experience with listening to people's deja vu stories and my own and so on and so forth, I would have to say maybe about 60 to 70% of the time, deja vu is something someone's dreamt about. because the subconscious mind took them back into an experience, and in their conscious present time, they're remembering it somehow. And for the person, it's very real. It's something they're clear they've experienced before. They just don't know where, when, how, and so on. So for me, in my experience, I believe that deja vu is definitely connected to past life and or premonition life. In other words, a person can be a prophetic dreamer or a prophetic person where they go, this is going to happen. I know this is going to happen. And then it happens. So deja vu can either play from the past to the present or from the present to the future. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Well, thank you all again. Please check us out at yayeo.com or Yayeo Botanica for future videos. And again, you can email us at botanica@yayeo.com. Our number here in the Botanica is 973-623-1453. Thank you so much. Take care.